And welcome to another edition of Buck the World. Except there's no bucks this time. Maybe there's a little bucks. We'll see what happens. But this is full off-season mode. We're going to talk about nerd shit today. Disney Plus, D23. We both would fashion ourselves here Disney fans in terms of Marvel and Star Wars. We're pretty geeky about that stuff. We always have been. So we're going to try and fill some airtime and talk about the things we're passionate about and spew our opinions out into the netherverse. Yeah, so I hope you can follow along. Again, not really going to be a lot of bucks, so tune out our 21 loyal listeners if you're not into it. But we're gonna get started here. So Alexander Juno, my
That's my name.
my co-host, newly christened teacher of high school that I don't remember. Um, you wanna? Okay, you don't have to tell
No,
us.
I'm not going to divulge my
Oh
identity.
no,
June 5th is that
he
from this point forward.
he he, he doesn't want to get doxxed in real life. He doesn't want to
Yeah,
get killed or anything. I am not worried about that, but I don't have 1,500 followers, so is it 50?
1700, but who's
Yeah.
counting?
All right, so cool. So let's start with Spider-Man because that's kind of the big one, right? I had a pretty passionate, well, I guess it was a lack of passion, tweet about Spider-Man leaving the MCU. How do you?
Like, you don't care?
No, so like I found that when I start to not care about something, like as in I'm sad about it, I display indifference. That's what my brain tells me. Like Game of Thrones. I was deeply passionate about Game of Thrones prior to this last season. And it was just so kind of bad and just not enjoyable that I no longer like care about it, right? I've actually like I have no desire to like think about it, think about the spin-off series, think about the lore, think of I mean I'll go I think I'll
That just seems like a defense mechanism.
I mean, sure. I mean, I can't I'm not going to play armchair psychologist with myself.
Well, you have to let yourself get attached to things.
I am
You can be sad that Game of Thrones
I'm
sucked.
attached to plenty of fucking things, Al. It's a problem for me. I'm attached to too many things. Um, but with Game of Thrones, I'm like indifferent. So when I found out that Spider-Man was going to leave the MCU, Tom Holland Spider-Man, as a big fan of his work, I think he's the most compelling protagonist left in the MCU personally. Well, he's not in the MCU anymore, so um, after I enjoyed Far From Home a lot more than I thought I would. After he was announced he was leaving, I went through a phases. I was like, "There's no way this is gonna
It was
happen."
not announced he was leaving.
Well, Spider. What do you mean? Spider-Man's leaving?
That's not announced.
Yeah. I mean, you mean
No.
not officially? You mean like a press release?
Yeah, but you can't say after it was announced he was leaving. It's like,
Rumored, speculated, reported. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. You're. If we want to be semantical, that's yeah.
I'm just saying things could change, and there are
Well,
people out there
well,
in the industry who expect that things will change
there's
before
some
anything
that say
actually
there's too
happens.
much money to lose, right? Like there's too much money to lose. Like that's what people say.
It sort of
But
depends.
for
Like, if you sort
now,
of walk through the math, and if Disney was only asking for 20%, that doesn't really seem that
they
bad. If
want
they're asking for 50%, they're out of their mind, because even a bad Spider-Man movie, they would make more with 100% than 50%.
yeah. So let's start with what Al just said. Like basically, Spider-Man, Disney, Marvel Studios, and Kevin Feige, that whole unit previously had a 5% uh, stake in the Spider-Man films as part of the deal they signed with Sony Pictures, who currently own the rights to the Spider-Man film franchise. And Disney got all merchandise sales, but Disney only got 5% out of the deal, and they also had, I believe, full production control, and Sony controlled marketing. In new negotiations, I believe they were looking for 50% instead of 5. That's a pretty big jump, and Tim Roth.
Again, just rumored.
Uh, yes, I mean, I'd say it's more than a rumor when you have actors and production staff and people like Jon Favreau sort of confirming the speculation, all but not.
Jon Favreau said they asked for 50%.
He didn't say that exactly, but he said,
Okay.
it's sad to see him leave. No, there's more than enough reports out there to say that it's basically happened. All but Disney releasing a press release, which is.
I'm disputing more so the number in question because the number matters quite a lot in this instance.
What do you mean? The what number?
If it's 50% or not.
Well, that's what everybody's reporting as. All the top sources
I've seen anywhere from 20 to 50
that they've asked for.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen anything but 50%. But
yeah,
sure. We don't know.
The first two I saw were 50 and 30. And I think when you work through the numbers, and this is just like a rough estimate, but if you take 50% of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, that, no, that's not what you would take. If you take 50% of Far From Home, and then you take 100% of Amazing Spider-Man 2, 100% vastly outweighs 50%. But if you start taking 20 to 30% of Far From Home versus, 20 to 30% off, that is, then the numbers are a little bit more comparable.
And I believe it's gross profits, not net profits, which are different.
Yeah.
Gross are better than net. Let's just say that. So Tom Holland and I'm looking at a Slash Film article. Tom Holland and Kevin Feige were very diplomatic in addressing the Spider-Man deal at the D23 Expo over the weekend, but some of the other stars of the MCU were asked about the situation. Elizabeth Olsen said, "That's so sad." Elizabeth Olsen playing Scarlet Witch. "That's so sad. It is really sad. I mean, Tom was so special. Was such a special. First off, he's the greatest Spider-Man to me. Actually, has youthful energy. Blah 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 blah. It's a big loss. It's really bad." Jeff Goldblum weighed in. Jon Favreau said, "We've all read rumors, we've all read press releases, but never know what's going to happen. I'm holding out hope and being optimistic that this isn't the final chapter of that story between those characters." So things could change between now and then. I hope they change. But regardless, I feel a decided indifference towards the MCU because Tom Holland's Spider-Man I really cared about, and I thought he was the most compelling. Like, Spider-Man's great. He's got the best rogues gallery, and Tom Holland's great, and all of those movies have been great. So, I'm sad about it.
Basically, all the MCU movies have been great.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he's the most...
They've made how many? 23? And I think, I really enjoyed 21 of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed the majority of them, too, but I've especially enjoyed Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. So I am quite sad. And
I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man isn't going anywhere.
He's not going to be...
Kevin Feige's Spider-Man is going somewhere.
Yeah, well, his inclusion in the MCU is gone. So, I don't like it. I want him to be there.
What was the next movie he was going to be in?
I mean, well, besides Spider-Man 3, who knows? He may have made cameos in the next Avengers. They might have had another Civil War.
The next Avengers movie that we know is probably not going to be until 2024.
I mean, that's fine, but
so much can change between now and 2024.
There's a reason a lot. You're right. You're right. I've spoken to some people that I work with at my place of business who have some studio contacts, and a lot of people think that Sony's playing hardball because they want to sell their film division. So, who knows?
Isn't their film division profitable?
I think after the past year with Venom and Spider-Man, yes, but it hasn't been for years. They've had a lot of bad luck.
Yeah, Sony's a difficult company. It's sort of interesting because, when you talk about Sony, you end up talking about PlayStation a lot, and in that
That's
sort
a
of
profitable
market,
division.
Yeah, it's their most profitable division by far.
Yep.
But in that market, they're going up against Microsoft. Microsoft just has more money to throw at everything.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same thing in their movies division when you're talking about Disney. When you're trying to compete with Disney, Disney has infinite resources, infinite money, and they have possibly the most valuable asset currently in filmmaking in Kevin Feige.
Yep.
I just don't know sort of how you compete with that necessarily. And not that it's a pure competition because they have this leverage, but it's tough. Like, I don't know. I can't blame them. I don't even know if either side's to blame here.
No, that's
Like,
I'm not blaming any side. That Sony this is American capitalism, greed reigns supreme, and everybody wants to make the best buck possible, and like I don't blame Sony as sort of the underdog for being like, no, like you guys control everything. We created what some people are calling the best superhero movie of all time with Into the Spider-Verse, and Venom, which made over $800 million despite like not being predicted to make that much at all. I still haven't seen it. I don't know if I want to.
oh my gosh,
I,
it's distinctly okay.
is it okay? Okay. I thought it was distinctly
I
bad
think it's kind
except
of
for
funny.
Tom Hardy.
The
But
villain is kind of like Elon Musky.
yeah.
Not the villain, because the villain is Carnage or whatever.
Carnage was at the end cameo played by Woody Harrelson with the wig on. That's who Carnage is. It wasn't Carnage, it was Riot.
Mayhem.
Riot. Riot.
Riot.
Mayhem, Riot, Carnage. God,
It's really
it's
they're really all the same.
all
It's like some virus type thing
all
that takes
superhero
over a
shit
guy, and
is
here we are.
stupid,
Um,
especially Venom shit. Like, but we love it.
yeah, it the names are kind of dumb because they're not that memorable. But I saw it and it was okay. Tom Hardy was pretty good.
Yeah, that he's. I heard
Um,
he was the only good part of the film. But
yeah, and there's like a lot you can sort of dissect here. Like you can say that the original reason there's some speculation that the reason Disney didn't want to work more with Sony was because Sony was pushing for Venom to be included in the MCU, and they didn't really want
did
Venom.
you hear
And it's
the rumor that came out today? The report. It's odd that it's coming out now, but Disney Marvel demanded or asked that Tom Holland's cameo be removed from Venom. So that's a report that's sort of circulating. You can think about that. So there's so many. It's all politics, but and honestly, I don't want to speculate too much. Like, what are your feelings on it? You know my feelings. I'm sad about it. I
well, I'm definitely sad about it,
okay.
but I also think it's going to get worked out before anything
Okay, so
actually
you're saying
happens.
there's two like because the them going forward, Sony trying to fit him into their Morbius universe with Jared Leto and Venom and all of that, which is what they want to do reportedly, and also ignoring all the MCU stuff is just it's just wonky to me. It's going to be weird. I think audiences will actually think it's weird, even casual audiences who follow it a little bit more casually. I think it's weird. I think they can make it work. I think it would still make some
I
money,
think the
but
casuals were mad about this. So, like, it reached beyond the top level
yeah,
fans.
and I think that's why Disney. Actually, I don't know who leaked it. I don't know who leaked the negotiations, if it was Sony or Disney. I think it was Disney because they knew people.
There's incentive for both sides.
You're right, because people like some people are like anti-Disney is this big brother, and I don't know. But regardless of politics, I'm sad. So
But I'm really only sad because of the second end credit scene from Far From Home, which I think is the reason everybody's sad. Um, the at the risk of spoiling,
yes,
which I
just
think
just
I've
say
made clear at
spoiler
this
alert.
point.
Just say spoiler. You're fine.
So spoiler, the J. Jonah Jameson stuff I think is some of the most compelling Spider-Man stuff because the whole him battling with his identity and him having to prove that he's a superhero, I think is a really compelling arc. You know, we sort of went through that sort of stuff with Civil War and the Sokovia Accords. So sort of dealing with that in a post-snap universe was interesting in some capacity to me, and I thought that could perhaps lend itself to a team-up movie later. But that's really all I have to say on it.
Yeah. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson / Alex Jones. I love it. It
Perfect.
was I missed him from the Raimi Spider Verse.
Absolutely.
I mean, what a perfect decision. But I guess that's what I have to say about that. I'm sad. I hope it gets worked out. Because I don't really which brings me to the point of I don't really resonate with a lot of the protagonists that are currently active in the MCU. They just don't like. I enjoy the movies, but they don't like. I don't like go. Yeah, he's sweet. Like I did it for Chris Pratt,
This is
or I'm sorry,
disrespectful to him, man.
Chris Paul Rudd. Um, I did it for Chris Evans as Captain America. I did it for Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and I guess I do it a little bit for Hemsworth as Thor, but they've sort of, I guess I'm sort of sick of him constantly. He has the same character arc in almost every movie, which is I'm not worthy, then I'm worthy, not worthy, then I'm worthy, and so I don't think they've done like I love Ragnarok, I love his arc in Endgame, but it's also kind of the same old shtick. We'll see what happens with Guardians 3 and Love and Thunder. But yeah, I don't know. I just really like Spider Man, and I don't really like anyone else. So
I think I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum in that I love everybody.
that's great.
Um, love Tom Holland. Couldn't say enough great things about him. But like, I'm extremely excited for WandaVision in particular. Wanda has been my favorite MCU character since her debut, and
I think
um,
Elizabeth Olsen is delivered some of the most blandest performances, but I'm glad you like. I'm glad you like it.
I'm just more interested in the character itself.
Okay,
Like, I think her power set is incredibly interesting.
sure.
I'm glad that she ditched the fake accent, um,
I
which is really funny. Like, if you go
I
back and you
actually
watch
forgot that
Age of
she had a
Ultron,
fake accent.
it's really funny, and the Sokovian accent, and also for some reason, whenever I say Sokovia, I think of Princess Diaries because I think for some reason that's the country that she was the princess of. I don't think that's true.
It's definitely.
I can't remember what country it was, but I think it was also fictional. Um, but no, like I'm really excited. I think that one of the reasons I'm excited is I love a lot of like the second heroes in these movies. Like I always really enjoyed Falcon. I really enjoyed Shuri and Black Panther. Um, I like Valkyrie a lot, so I'm like interested to see how their roles expand. I know there's one series of comics, and I'm not a super big comics guy, so I can't necessarily cite stuff. But I know there's one series of comics where after T'Challa steps down as Black Panther, Shuri becomes the Black Panther. So I'm hoping that we see her role expand a lot in Black Panther too. I'm very curious to see where Ryan Coogler takes it. Um, I'm like incredibly impressed with the way that Black Panther one went. I don't find T'Challa to be the most compelling
I
person.
don't either. I think he was.
Uh,
I think his arc in Civil War was really awesome, but I don't think his arc in Black Panther was that interesting.
he's not the most interesting character in Black Panther, and he's Black Panther,
Yeah,
which is a problem.
it's a
Um,
big problem.
yeah, and that's tough because um, and the surrounding cast was so great, but Michael B. Jordan sort of stole the show, and then the fact that he had to die sort of ruined it. Um, but like, I'm genuinely excited for Falcon and Bucky.
uh,
Um, I think
sure, I don't really care that much. I don't know.
you're killing
I'm
me.
indifferent.
Bucky's great.
Sure.
Falcon's better, and he's going to be
I
Captain
I think
America.
they're pretty bland characters as represented in the MCU. I think they're fine. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm. Um, I think Shang Li will. That's the name, right?
That doesn't Shang Li. Google time.
Yeah. So
He is a very B lister that they're making a movie of. Yeah, it's Shang Li. You're right.
okay. Yeah. For some reason, I
No, it's
was.
definitely not Shang Li.
Um,
I lied. Hold on. Just keep talking. I'll figure it out.
so this is probably not a great sentence, but there's a UFC event in China this weekend, and I was sort of going through the names of the people that are fighting, and I sort of think I got all of that
It's
mixed with this. So
Shang Chi.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm close, but not really. But so halfway there. So Shang-Chi, I'm really excited for that movie. I know we don't have anything to base it on, but the main character, who's I shouldn't say the main character, the main actor, was in Kim's Convenience, which was a really funny sitcom show that I really enjoyed, and I thought his performance in that was really good and really enjoyable.
I'm not
And I'm
familiar.
sort of excited to see if he can bring that charisma to Shang Chi and sort of see where that can go. Um, I don't know. I feel like there are some really compelling protagonists still in the MCU, and I feel like they sort of get glossed over because Spider Man is Spider Man. You know, like we grew up with Tobey Maguire's Spider Man, and then there was the Raimi Spider Man in between, and it's just no, I should say the Garfield Spider Man in between, um, to say it correctly. And I feel like the whole Iron Man Captain America left this void, and people thought that Spider Man was the only person who can fill it. But I feel like we're going to see really good second movies. And Tom Holland just got such great lines in Endgame and Infinity War, where we didn't really get to see, like, how many words does Captain Marvel say in Infinity War? Like, she didn't even have a chance
You
to
mean
sort of steal the
Endgame? She
show.
wasn't even in Infinity War. You mean Endgame?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, my
that's all
mistake.
right.
And Endgame, like, she had more lines in trailers than she had in the actual movie, which is a
I
something.
mean, it
So
depends on what you think of her character in general. And like Captain Marvel, I thought she was pretty by the numbers and kind of boring as well. I bet Captain Marvel I thought was a pretty boring movie. It was fine.
I would say that I'm more excited for basically every other person than Captain Marvel 2. Um, so like I'll be curious to see where sort of Doctor Strange 2 takes us.
That's probably the
As
most interesting movie on the list for me, besides Love and Thunder. It's Thor and then the Doctor Strange into the mouth of madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness, co-starring Scarlet Witch. It's supposed to be a horror film. Like it sounds fucking weird and awesome and cool and different.
I'm incredibly fascinated to see what they do with the movie. I don't like horror movies, but like I'm not
It's
missing
gonna
this, so
be it's
like
still gonna be PG-13. I don't think it's gonna be that
it's
scary.
yeah.
It'll be fine.
Um, so thank you
you,
for reassuring me,
you'll
though.
be fine.
I might have to come down to Austin so you can hold my hand during the movie and make me feel
You'll be fine.
okay. No, I think Benedict Cumberbatch has a lot more personality that sort of got infused into Doctor Strange than we see in other stuff. Um, Ant Man's sort of funny in a self-deprecating way, but he's more of a dad, and like it's really evident in the way that Paul Rudd acts is that he's like just he's there,
It's
but
Ant Man. Whatever.
yeah, he's kind of having fun. It's not the same.
It's
Like
it's Ant Man.
it's not Thor, you know. And I think that's why like Guardians 3 and Thor Love and Thunder are at the top of everybody's list
Yeah.
because Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth are incredibly.
Chris Pratt, regardless of what you think of him personally, I think he's an incredibly charismatic actor, and I think he's fun to watch, and I think he brings a lot of energy to the role. And I think I love the first Guardians film, and I like Guardians 2 a lot as well, and I like James Gunn's work as well. So like, I guess, but like, I mean, let's talk about some of the newer the other properties. I mean, we can
We can talk about the Disney Plus shows in a second though, but I want to ask you something before we move on. Is the captivation of a superhero movie the superhero or the villain?
I mean, what is I don't know. There's some dude out there who quoted that uh, um, a story is defined by its villain. I cannot recall where I heard that, but I think that a film can exist and be compelling with a kind of meh villain because if you remember, for a long time, Marvel struggled with having a great villain, but people still love the movie. I mean, look at Guardians. I love Lee Pace, but Ronan lame. The lamest, one of the lamest villains. You got Malekith, played by Christopher Eccleston, another great actor, totally underutilized in the Dark World. Um, which is a lot of people's least favorite movie.
The Dark World is the only MCU movie I haven't seen aside from the original Hulk.
Wow. Okay. I think The Dark World's fine. The Incredible Hulk, the original one with with before it was Disney, when it was still Paramount.
Yeah.
And what's his name? I forget who played him. Not Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Uh,
It's in my head.
it's an enjoyable movie though. Like, yeah.
I would definitely rent it. I just stopped living by a video store, so I stopped renting movies, and I don't rent on other stuff because I forget that I rented it and then I don't finish it. And that's
Oh man, tough life you have.
yeah, it's a real first world problem.
It's fine. It's not everybody's favorite movie, but
So
Marvel's
back to like the premise of the question,
yeah.
like it's tough because a strong lead actor can really replace that need for a villain. Like I do not think that Mysterio's a super great
I
villain.
disagree.
I think I think in some ways he appeals to Tony's weakness. I think Vulture was a lot stronger as a villain.
I think
I
they were
shouldn't say
both.
Tony's weakness. Tom's
I think they
weakness.
were both great, and actually think
Peter.
Jake Gyllenhaal's uh,
It's
Mysterio
it's
was
nothing against Gyllenhaal's
so
performance. I just
good.
don't think I don't buy the motive. The
Really?
whole we all hate Tony Stark. Like
I mean,
it's
he
dumb.
he kind of fucked a lot of people over in his career. I mean,
Yeah, oh,
it
absolutely.
was the
But
same
like
thing with
to still
Vulture
be
though
resentful
too,
of that 20
a
years
little
later,
bit.
like I guess people should get over the same thing with
People
Ultron.
don't.
Ultron's not
People
great
hold
either.
grudges, man. People hold grudges.
They shouldn't. And I
You
guess
need to.
that maybe that's why it doesn't appeal to me because I sort of let stuff go, and I'm just like,
That's fine, like you personally, but if you empathize a little bit, you can kind of get it, and that's
do you still hold a grudge from 20 years ago? Your first
when
job
I was
boss was
six.
he was just a dick, and you're
20
like,
years ago, when I was
I
six
hate
years
you,
old.
Ronald McDonald.
When I was 6 years old, my boss was Ronald McDonald. Damn you! These Happy Meals are not tasty. These toys are not satisfying. My
Yeah, I can't think of any. Well, I don't remember anything from 20 years ago because I was 4, so maybe that's my problem. Um,
Anyways, yeah, I mean, whatever.
who's your favorite MCU
That's
villain ever?
That's
Before
a
we
great
move on,
question. Thanos and Infinity War, by far. I think that's why Infinity War is probably my favorite MCU film. So,
great answer.
I mean, his arc is fucking great. The balance scene when his armies are just committing genocide while he's speaking with a young Gamora, right? Is fantastic, and Josh Brolin actually brings a lot to the role, considering it's all CGI. Josh Brolin is probably the only. I think what's super notable is Josh Brolin is probably the second actor to bring a compelling performance to a CGI character. The first actor being. I'll give you a chance to answer that, trivia wise. Andy Serkis as Gollum, and then Planet of the Apes, whatever his name was in those films. I love Planet of the Apes trilogy, but yeah,
Not gonna get it.
it's Andy Serkis. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was
Okay.
not gonna guess that. Like that just wouldn't have been at the top of
That's
my
fine.
list.
I think I think it was great, but
But let's
yeah,
move on.
we don't have a lot of time.
Going forward, um, let's talk about Disney Plus as a whole.
What's your
Was there ever a point when you were
before we get to that? What's your favorite film you're looking forward to on the list, like of new films coming up?
a favorite
Yeah,
film?
not TV show.
Um, I would say I'm the most interested by Doctor Strange for the reasons we discussed. You know, sort of the how are they going to do it type stuff. But in terms of movie, um, it's almost got to be Thor: Love and Thunder. I find Thor to be the most compelling character left. The Valkyrie stuff will be interesting, and I'm very curious to see how they bring back Natalie Portman and sort of where that goes going forward. Yeah, I don't know. I could definitely make a strong case for Guardians 3, just because I love Rocket, love Chris Pratt. I'm curious to see sort of what role Gamora takes going forward with her sort
and
of
and Chris
memory loss
Hemsworth,
type
he's
thing.
still going to be in that. So
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little confused by the timeline of that and sort of how that's all gonna
he's going
shake
to be
out.
on two huge movies. So
Yeah, like is he gonna be in
both.
like which one's he gonna be
He's
in
going to be in
first?
both, but I don't think he's going to be the starring character in either. He'll be the co-protagonist, I think, in Guardians, and we'll see.
It's just like he left with the
Yeah.
Guardians. So if Guardians doesn't come out first, it doesn't really make any sense. But it looks like Thor: Love and Thunder is going to come out first because of James Gunn's prior
Oh,
obligations.
is that the case? Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, because I think James Gunn has to finish up on Suicide Squad
Yeah.
2.
He by the way, there was a report saying he wants fans to know that the title most certainly will not be Suicide Squad 2. Like he wants to separate himself from the first movie so much. It's so
I want to take this moment to tell any geniuses listening to check your Twitter and make sure you don't have anything stupid like James Gunn so that you don't potentially ruin a movie franchise over it.
yeah, even though James Gunn apologized for those tweets in like 2014, it's just some ass.
Well, we don't have to get into how dumb the entire thing
Sure.
was, but just delete them so we
I
don't have to
know.
deal with it ever.
I respect James Gunn apologizing for them, but not deleting them early on, sort of as a this is what I said. I'm gonna roll with it, but yeah, delete them in the world we
And I
in the
respect,
cynical
like,
world we live in. Delete them.
yeah,
Delete them.
yeah. Moving,
Yeah,
moving
Disney
on.
Plus.
Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? Were you ever skeptical of Disney Plus?
I mean, I think
Like a year ago when you first heard of
no.
it, were you like, I don't know if
As
this will
soon
work?
as they said they're gonna empty the Disney vault and put everything on the service, I bought in. I was like, I'm getting it. I love the classic Disney films. I think they're brilliant masterpieces for the most part. The animated films. So like I can't not be able to watch those at any time. And I when that service comes out, you bet your ass I'm gonna go through and watch all those and probably a lot of the Pixar films like Incredibles and Wall-E, and I'm gonna revisit these films that I haven't seen in a while, and it's gonna be really awesome. I love them. So like it's my inner child.
And it's
But
tough. Like I think a lot of us have like we might have DVDs of them that our parents bought us a long time ago, but like we're gonna be able to have them 4K streaming wherever we go. So
at all times,
that's
like for the
that's just ridiculously
in
valuable.
yeah,
And like it's not like Netflix where things are gonna expire. Like Disney's not gonna take their own stuff off
at
there.
least we don't think so. At least, yeah.
Yeah, like we have no reason to believe that currently. I think it's very likely that they eventually raise the price, but
Oh,
they've said the price is going to stay put for 2 years.
100% though. I mean, that's inevitable. It's inflation. Every service raises their price, but um,
Yeah, but I feel like people are predicting a hike as soon as they take Netflix off the
nah.
market. Which, like, also spoiler alert, Netflix isn't going to go anywhere because they put too much money into producing stuff to dump it all. It
They'll
would take a
Disney
very
will take a commanding market share of streaming probably within two
yeah
years, though. I would say Netflix
yeah.
Netflix has been Netflix's stock is really starting to fall. They're spending so much money on programming that is terrible, that people aren't and they've sort of hit they've stagnated in terms of growth, adding like what they're doing is producing more content than they can afford based on like uh uh
And I think it's tricky because at first they were able to be so judicial with what they
yeah,
picked, and now they are just constantly trying to
garbage.
find the next big thing.
And
And
some of the stuff on there is truly
it's tough.
terrible. It's like F level, like the sci-fi series that had pretty expensive production values. Another Life. I watched a couple episodes of that. I think it's called Another Life. I'm not sure. Starring the girl from the woman from Battlestar Galactica, and I love Battlestar Galactica from the early aughts. Is a fantastic series, and it's one of the fucking worst things I've ever seen. The cast and the plot, it's terrible. It's worse than like CW stuff, which is saying something. Like it's so bad, and I was like, man, Netflix, why? Like, why are you doing this? But then they produced Mindhunter season 2, and I loved it. So,
And there's definitely some
oh,
hits
for
in there.
sure.
Like I don't think that can get overstated. But when they pump out so much stuff and then they promote their own stuff that's less than great, and they don't really carefully select what they promote, like you run into problems really quick.
Um, it's funny, like Disney is going to stick to the week to week model. I think bi-weekly with Mandalorian. Let's talk about Mandalorian a little bit. It's only going to be 8 episodes, I believe, but it's either going to be weekly or bi-weekly releases, um, which is like really interesting, right? And people are saying like that allows a service to extend its releases, whereas Netflix dumps all the show's content in one go, and then people, well, a lot of people binge through it, some don't, but there's pressure on Netflix to the following week to release another series or original film. That means every single week of the year they have to release some new content. Essentially, they're hamstrung into this, and Disney is not going to do that. They're going to release stuff to week. Some people aren't fans of that. I'm not.
Which which model do you think is more effective for getting people talking about your show?
I mean, I think we're both going to say the same thing. It's going to be the week to week model, because then it allows people to. It's like Game
Yeah,
of Thrones. It allows people to talk about it for a week. So each episode.
but like yeah, yes, I think that's the right answer. But I think there's something to be said for this whole like. Do you remember when the first season of Stranger
Yeah.
Things dropped? Like it's all everybody was talking about. And when that stupid, there was that stupid Bird Box movie. There was that Choose Your Own Adventure. I shouldn't say stupid Bird Box movie. I didn't watch it.
It's
It's
okay.
not my
It's
type of
okay.
movie.
It's a horror film, like you said.
And yeah, like I don't
It's
watch
fine.
horror films. And what
It's
was that
okay.
other movie? What was that like? Oh, Black Mirror, where you could choose your own adventure.
Bandersnatch, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was talking about those. Those went like viral. Like I think once you become a meme, then you're really effective, and I think both were able to do that, which was something. Um, and I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm just going to buy Disney Plus after my show's done, and then I'll watch it all." And once it's all up there, and it's like, are you actually going to do that? Because then you're going to get spoiled pretty frequently, and I don't know exactly how that's all going to work. I don't know if they'll like live stream the first episode, and you can go from there, or if they'll just
They'll just drop it. They'll just
yeah.
like Hulu does. Hulu did that with Handmaid's Tale, week to week. They just dropped it on a weekly basis, and
Okay.
it wasn't live streamed or anything.
So then you could fast forward it to the end of the episode and spoil
If
it.
you had their live service, yeah, I think. Yeah. Um, Whatever. I think it's easier on the service to be able to release episodes in weekly iterations, so they can spend 8 weeks releasing a new thing, and then the ninth week they can release a new show. I think it's easy, especially with Disney just starting out. Um, but yeah, let's quickly go over like some of the shows, like Mandalorian. Super excited about. I mean, I can't say enough about how excited I am about that series. Especially, I'm sort of like lukewarm, but still excited about all new Star Wars stuff. It's my number one passionate franchise. But
I'm like 100% excited about all new Star Wars stuff, and I wish they were making more of it at a faster rate. And I'm sad that the rate has slowed
uh,
down
quote
because
unquote
people
Star
did.
Wars fatigue, which is what Bob Iger said. I don't
Yeah,
think that's true at all.
people said superhero fatigue like 6 years ago, and I
But
was
then
like,
there was for a little bit, but then
no.
quote unquote. But then Guardians came out and changed things,
When
and
you make bad movies, people are
that's
tired
what
of
I'm
them.
saying. That's
But
all it is. And like, but the counter will be like, well, critically, Last Jedi was well received and audience score was really high. But the fact is, a lot of fans had a lot of backlash towards Last Jedi. And I think it sort of split the fan base, and then that led to, I think a lot of that led to Solo underperforming, despite me loving it. I saw
I
I
also
saw it
liked it.
opening weekend. Like
So
I don't.
here's the thing: I thought it was more aggressive than the other two new movies of the trilogy. I thought those movies were just too safe, and they stuck
So
too much to the characters that everybody already
yeah, I
loved.
think so too. Yeah.
And like, even though Solo is based on a character that people love, it's not the
No,
character.
I think Solo. It's weird, but it's weird to say, but Solo might be the riskiest of the four films. Isn't that weird? I think it is. Like,
Oh yeah, I forgot about Rogue One. Rogue One's good for the reasons that Solo's good, and that it does something, even if you know where the movie's going to go based on the summary of the
Yeah.
plot and what it is. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's
Rogue One,
tough.
the
Uh,
first 2/3 are like boring as sin. So to me, the last third I think is
yeah,
fantastic. I think it's amazing, but I think the first 2/3 are like super boring. So um,
yeah.
yeah,
I hope they can sort of figure it out with Rise of or Return of
Rise of Skywalker. You were on the right track. Rise
Rise.
of yeah.
I don't think there's a the in it because I think somebody
The
got
rise
mad about that online
isn't
the
it
other
the
day.
Rise of Skywalker or is it Rise of Skywalker? I think it's just Rise. I don't fucking know. Because they already did the with the Last Jedi and the Force Awakens. Is it? I don't know. I'm googling. I think it's Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I think it's just Rise of Skywalker.
No, it's
ROS.
Star Wars: The
Somebody.
Rise of Skywalker. It is the. You're right. Or I'm
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
um.
So I hope they sort of figure it out there, and that can sort of reignite people. And I know people say that like Star Wars is always going to do well. I was shocked at how bad Solo did.
Solo
Like it did
bombed.
really
It
bad.
didn't make back its money. It didn't.
Yeah,
It's a
which
bomb.
is crazy because
Yeah.
you would think like Star Wars is something that's so nostalgic that people significantly older than me and you feel so strongly about that.
Why did they release it in May? Like that's like 6 months after The Last Jedi in a movie that was super divisive. They pushed it outside of the holiday release window because this is coming from somebody who works in the industry. They so wanted to promote the Mary Poppins film that was released in December. I'm not kidding. That's why they pushed Solo to like May because it was an open time. I don't understand that decision. I think Disney made two mistakes. After seeing how divisive The Last Jedi was, they didn't delay the film when they should have delayed the film all the way to December. I was fine with one. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd have two Star Wars films a year, but one Star Wars film a year I thought was perfect. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's in a really low stock right now in people's mind. So in theory, you can only go up, but that's not really how it works in practice. Um, I just hope it does well so that we continue to get Star Wars stuff. I wish that Star Wars was at a point like Marvel was, where they're announcing like multiple Disney Plus shows instead of just the
Two,
one.
two, two, three,
What
four,
other one did they
four.
announce?
Mandalorian premieres when the service launches. Shortly after that, the next season of Clone Wars, the return of Clone Wars is coming back. Cassian Andor series, which I don't really care about, but I'll still watch because it's Star Wars. Is coming out sometime in 2020, and then the Obi-Wan starring Ewan McGregor show.
I forgot about the
Yeah,
Obi-Wan thing. That's a movie
no,
though, isn't
it's
it?
a series, a mini series, probably most likely. I would guess is going to be a mini series, but
Okay, so total brain fart on my end. I knew about the Cassian Andor one, and I had heard about the Obi-Wan thing, but that's just in one end and
I
out the
mean,
other.
Diego Luna is
And I
super
didn't.
talented, but his character is boring as sin in Rogue One, so I don't know. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it all gets sort of figured out. Um, let's talk about the Marvel Disney Plus shows because I think that there's a little more information out there about them, and I think in general, when I say the community, like there's a ton of overlap between these two communities because people our age just go and see both of them because they're the movies that I don't want to say they do the best, but there's so much money put into them. They're some of the highest quality action and CGI that's
Yeah,
out
for
there,
sure. Good
and like
always good casts. Always high quality. Like, I mean, none of the MCU or Star Wars films, in my opinion, have been objectively bad under Disney. I haven't liked some of them. I think some of them have been more mediocre than like others, but I don't think any of them have been bad. So,
yeah. So I'll just start it this way. I think we have 6 Disney Plus shows out there. I'll list them quick. So I believe the first one that we're gonna get is the WandaVision show.
which I'm excited about
And
because it
then,
looks really weird and esoteric. Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
looks super
it's
weird. I don't think it's the first one, but keep going.
it's either that or Falcon and the Winter
I think
Soldier,
that's the first one.
and it might be. I could have them flipped. And then we're getting What If, which is just going to be
And it's
fascinating for
animated,
those who
and I
don't
think
know.
it looks fucking super cool. It's gonna be
Yeah.
weird and
So far, they have 23 episodes confirmed, which is exactly how many movies have been made. And I don't know if this is confirmed, but the speculation is that we're going to get one that sort of changes each movie. All your favorite actors are doing the voice casting. So even if it's animated, we're still going to get, Chris Pratt and Chris Evans
I
voicing the
actually didn't
characters,
know
those type.
that they were all voicing them. That's news to me.
Yes. I don't know if it's across the board, but they showed the voice actors list and it's identical to the actors list. They showed some of it on screen. So we'll see how sort of all that goes. I'm really excited for that one. I can't remember. The Watcher is the guy who's voicing the Watcher, who's like the narrator of this, is from Westworld. He's one of the main characters in Westworld.
Is it
I can't remember.
the black actor? Yeah, he's
Yes.
fucking awesome. So that's awesome. I actually didn't know, and I knew they were introducing the Watcher. I didn't know he was voicing him. That's super cool. So
Yeah.
like I said, I think you're more in tune with the MCU stuff. So you're gonna probably fill me in on some stuff. The first
Absolutely.
show is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is fall of 2020, so next year. Yeah,
Perfect. So we're a year away from the first MCU
yeah.
show. Um, a little more than a year, but we'll work through it. And then the three that we got announced last weekend were Moon Knight,
Yeah, Moon
uh,
Knight. Are you
which
familiar with the
I
comics?
yeah, a
He's
little bit,
fucking
not like super
so
familiar.
for our listeners, he's fucking like crazy. He's a
Yeah,
crazy character. He I know too much about Moon Knight and I like feel like I know a lot about him even though I shouldn't. Like I don't know. Um because I like I read one of his comics and it sort of blew my mind and how ridiculous it was. But Moon Knight is a mercenary who sort of I think was like Left for Dead or something, and then he became Moon Knight. And at one point he had moon powers that came from Egyptian gods. I don't know if they're gonna put that in the series, but Moon Knight is the white Batman. He is the answer.
I've heard that he's sort of a cross between Batman and Deadpool, which is sort
He's
of
Deadpool's
uh,
insanity, but Batman's sort of everything else. So yeah,
yeah. So the other two shows that we have confirmed are She-Hulk and I forgot
Loki
Loki,
as well.
which would bring us up to
Yep,
seven. She-Hulk and then Miss
yep.
Marvel.
Hawkeye as well. Hawkeye
So
as well.
and
Yeah,
Hawkeye. Wow, there's 8 shows already. Like that's sort of what I'm talking about. We're getting so much Marvel stuff, and I just wish that the same sort of optimism was out there about those shows as we have for Star Wars. Or I wish people were as excited for the Star Wars stuff as they are for the Marvel stuff, because people are really excited for the Marvel stuff, and they're convinced that Feige will
it's
blow it out of
because
the park.
Feige is like Feige has even maybe even a more impeccable run than like Pixar films. Although Pixar films are more risky, so like I don't know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I think you spoiled it, but I was going to ask you, which of these shows are you most looking forward to?
probably WandaVision because I just think it looks weird. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say Moon Knight after you just
no,
said that.
like I
Uh,
know a lot about. I'm super interested in Moon Knight. Like I'm for sure gonna watch it, but like I am most excited about WandaVision because I think it's gonna be really weird. Um, I'm least excited about probably Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think it looks kind of boring. I mean, I'm
yeah.
glad Loki. I mean, Tom Hiddleston is fantastic. I'll watch. I mean, I'm gonna watch them all, but What If I'm probably second most excited for behind WandaVision. Yeah,
So with a lot of these shows, like from my understanding, the different runs that a lot of these characters have had in the comics are widely different from each other. Um, I'm excited to see sort of where they take each one, because with each one they can take sort of this different approach to making a TV show. Like with Moon Knight, you might get more of a action comedy where um, She Hulk is a
it's
lawyer, so you could see
procedural.
sort of like this.
Procedural. Yeah.
Yeah, this sort of courtroom style funny,
Yep.
like, and it's sort of different approach to it, where she's like Professor Hulk type CGI all the time, where she just walks
Yep.
around as She-Hulk. Miss Marvel, young teen type show, not necessarily marketed towards teens entirely, but like another
It,
Tom Holland
yeah,
type
it'll probably
where,
trend younger. Like, yeah.
yeah, where you have this young protagonist that does high school things. Um, very interested, and like the first few are a lot more safe because they're characters that you already know. Though I think WandaVision is going to be really sort of weird and out
Yeah.
there. Like there's sort of this like 50s
See,
mindset that they have
are you
going in.
familiar with the comic that it's supposedly going to be based on?
Is it the House of M1?
I don't know what it's called.
It's the one. Is it the run where she's like she brought Vision sort of back to life and sort of this like
I thought it was
that?
based off the Vision comic where he creates his own family. He builds his own family, and it's like a very mid-century white picket fence. And
I thought it was reversed where she created her own family.
I know that in House of M she has like a dream and
Like
she changes reality. It might be a combination of both though, because
uh,
it's supposed to be.
as always, here at Buck the World, we frequently talk about things that we have no
Well,
confirmation
here,
of, and that we refuse to Google at that point.
I'm on an
So,
article. It's said that WandaVision is going to be half retro sitcom, like mid-century, half MCU style epic. So take it as you will.
so Leave It to Beaver mixed with Infinity War.
Yes.
You heard it here
Yeah.
first.
They're gonna put that quote when the show releases to great reviews. Like, Al Juno, Buck the World podcast.
Have you ever seen okay, so like a bad video game takes out a commercial and they just have it says one of the games I ever played hyphen, and then it's like Game Star, and you're like, what in the world is Game
It's the
Star?
most random. It's the one outlet that
It's like similar to GameStop. It's similar to Game Informer. What is
the
it?
one outlet that took the paycheck offered by the publisher to write a glowing review, like the one without the integrity to. um, but yeah,
The
I
dev
mean,
works there as well. He's part time at both.
um, I mean, I'm gonna watch all of these, but I'd say WandaVision I'm most excited for. Least excited for, like I said, Falcon Winter Soldier. What about you?
I think I might have talked myself into least excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier too, which my friend would kill me if he heard that because Winter Soldier's his favorite MCU character.
I mean,
But
Daniel Brew as Baron Zemo is fucking sweet. So if he's back and he's being villainy, so
and it's not to say that I think it's going to be bad, but I know what it's going to be. Like
it's gonna be the Falcon fighting to take up the mantle. I don't know. Like that just doesn't appeal to me that much. I don't really care, but I'll watch it.
there's just a lot less intrigue to that show compared to WandaVision, which could go anywhere.
Oh,
What if, which could go
most
anywhere.
interesting part of that is Wyatt Russell as U.S. agent, who's going to be in that show. I love Wyatt Russell, son of
Bill
Bill
Russell, former Celtics Hall of Famer.
Ego from Guardians 2.
Oh,
Kurt
Ego,
Russell.
one of my least
I
favorite villains.
disagree. I think Kurt Russell knocked it out of the park. I think he's weird and different, and I love it. But Wyatt Russell, his son, is playing John Walker, U.S. agent, and U.S. agent John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, is also going to be in the Black Widow movie. So he's going to premiere in that, and then he's going to be in the show the fall, because Black Widow, the next film, which is it takes place in the past, as we know. Black Widow sadly perished in Endgame.
R.I.P.
In probably her best, honestly, her most interesting performance as a character is in Endgame, which sucks, because up until then I think she was kind of poorly developed. But
She wasn't.
wow, ooh, passion.
The Black Widow should have came out after Civil War. That's when it's set. That's when it should have came out. You shouldn't give a character a solo film after they're dead.
Well, I'm glad we're getting one anyways.
It's just for universe building.
I'm glad we're getting one anyways. I'm just, yeah.
And I'm happy for it because the character's great. This movie's going to be
Yeah.
great, and it's nice that it gives us something to sort of blend Phase 3 and Phase
Yeah.
4, because this isn't going to establish very much going
No,
forward.
it'll
Like,
establish U.S. agent. That's it, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, who's going to be a side character in another side show, but I don't want to undersell it because I might be wrong, but I'm wrong a lot, so I'm willing to risk it. Um, I just think this would have done so much more for her character if it had been released 3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, Disney wasn't willing to take that risk. It looks like. You know what? I'm gonna.
How is that a risk? It's Scarlett Johansson in a character.
I don't know. I don't. Also, I'm wrong. It's not Wyatt Russell's U.S. agent will not premiere in Black Widow. I'm getting him confused with David Harbour's Red Guardian, which is I believe like a Russian version of Captain America. So I'm wrong. I'm correcting myself there. But
There's some other interesting
there's
characters in
too
that
many
movie.
fucking
I think
characters.
I think Taskmaster's supposed to be in that movie
In
as
Black
well.
Widow?
As we know that.
In
What was
Black
that?
Widow? I didn't. Oh, I didn't know.
Yes.
That's kind of cool. Taskmaster's like weird and stupid, and his name doesn't make sense, but he's cool.
Also, his powers don't really make
They don't
sense.
make sense at all.
Yeah, but I think that covered the big stuff. Like, there's other stuff coming to Disney Plus that's compelling. You have um, the world according to. You said his name earlier. Why is it slipping me? He played the Grandmaster
Grandma.
in Thor Ragnarok. Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
The world according to Jeff Goldblum.
oh yeah. You're talking about like
there-
random the Disney Plus. The other. Okay.
Yeah, like all the stuff
Yeah.
they announced. Like,
Lady and the
overall,
Tramp
love
live
it.
action film. I'm.
That doesn't even make any sense.
I don't give a shit at all, but I'll probably watch it. So.
I haven't watched any of these live action films. I've just
Yes,
been like, I don't
you and
get.
I. Yes, high five digitally. Like I refuse to. I work in the fucking film industry, and I refuse to watch these films. I'll probably. I've seen Jungle Book. I've seen Maleficent because Maleficent was different. Jungle Book I saw because it had great reviews, but I thought it was kind of meh. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones because they're all the reviews say, "Why would you watch this when you have a better version of it?" Like,
So it's the live story toy or the live action Toy Story.
oh my god, if the there's like this weird attitude towards animated, like it's always gonna like appeal towards children, and I don't know, maybe one day we'll get out of that. I don't think that that's fair to the medium, but yeah, I mean, I think we covered in length what we were expecting with like the Disney Plus Marvel shows. Like we talked about a little bit about like the Star Wars shows. Like I'm super excited for Clone Wars. I think Dave Filoni, the creator of Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance, is probably the best voice active in Lucasfilm. That for me resonates with like what I like about Star Wars, which is the mythology. Like I think I'm so excited that he's able to finish Clone Wars after like that's awesome, and I'm gonna watch the fuck out of that. I'll probably watch. I've seen the Clone Wars TV show, Al. I've seen it 3 times. I've watched it through 3 times. Like
So I watched the movie, and I think I've watched the first 10
it
episodes.
gets so much better after the first.
What was I don't remember what service I was watching them on. Is that
It's
on
on
Netflix?
Netflix for now. I think it may have been removed,
Yeah.
but you should watch it now. But
I mean, I'll watch
Okay.
it on Disney Plus
yeah,
in
the
2 months
whole thing
anyway.
will be on there, and Rebels will be on there as well. Rebels is great. Rebels
I've heard good things about Rebels.
Resistance is fine. It's fine, but it's gonna end with the next season, which takes place.
That's
yeah.
fine. We'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
and like I'm obviously excited about the Obi-Wan series. I'm skeptical of like its significance, but Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, like I grew up with the prequels. The prequels suck, but I still love them. Um,
People have grown a lot on the prequels now that the new trilogy is
It's-
out. I think people will really come around on this new trilogy when the fourth trilogy comes out sometime in 2026.
oh my god, I'm gonna be in my 30s. Can we not? Wait, will I be 30? Yeah, I'll be
In 2026, you'll be well
yeah.
into your
No,
30s.
don't say well into. I'll be in my 30s. Like, oh god, that's terrifying.
7 years from now.
I don't want to think about that.
Anything else you want to cover?
Um, I mean, I don't.
I think we did a pretty good job talking about a bunch of stuff and giving our opinions on stuff that we don't know a lot about yet and haven't seen,
No.
but we can revisit later as small diversions at the beginning of Buck's podcast.
Yeah, we can nerd
I
out.
think we
Yeah.
both missed basketball
Oh, I
season.
miss basketball so much.
We're about 2 months away from Buck season, maybe a month and a half till preseason games. And September's going to be a long month, but at least football's back for whatever that's worth. And
ISO Joe.
uh,
ISO Joe.
I saw somebody
He's
say
better
that
than
like
Sterling
ESPN
Brown.
tweeted the top 5 free agents available, and I saw somebody tweet, and they're like, I would take each of these guys on the Bucks, and it was like Carmelo Anthony, Jamal Crawford, Joe Johnson. I was like, yeah, is he better than Dragan Bender? Yeah, all of those guys are probably better than Dragan Bender.
They're better than.
Do I want him on the
better
Bucks?
than
No.
2 Bucks at least, Thanasis and Dragan.
Yeah, and obviously Thanasis too. And like, cool, you're better than the worst guys on the Bucks, but like, those guys are going to work hard because they don't have a spot in the league. Is Carmelo Anthony going to work hard? Carmelo Anthony should just announce that he retired. Like, the fact that people are genuinely mad that Carmelo's not around here. Like, I saw somebody post a video of Carmelo Anthony scoring 40 in a narrow win against like LeBron's third-year Cavs team when Melo was on the Nuggets, and they were like, how is this guy not in the league still? And I'm like, that video's 11 years old. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, it's like me posting a picture of myself from 11 years ago and being like, how is this guy still single? Because 13-year-old me was really good looking. But like,
that's creepy.
No,
that's a little creepy, but I'm laughing anyways. It's a little creepy.
Let's end this.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in to our geek bullshit. You're probably gonna get Disney Plus as well, even if you don't care that much, because your partner is gonna want to watch some.
Because the mouse controls your life.
Yeah, it's like that South Park episode. you know what's up. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We're definitely gonna be back soon. I don't know what for, but maybe
we'll figure something else to talk about, and then eventually we'll have Bucks news, and I don't know. Like, in theory, I guess we could have talked about the schedule.
We didn't talk about any FIBA stuff. But like, do you care that much? Because I don't.
I don't think it really applies to the Bucks. Like, obviously, I want to see Chris and Brooke do well.
I guess Giannis.
And like, honestly, I would love to see a Greece America match or Greece United States matchup. Is Giannis out permanently
now? He's out now, right? Oh, okay.
No.
I thought
I think they said he was just going to rest one game.
I guess the one question I have for you that's really critical the only time I really perked up this offseason a lot after free agency was pretty much over was somebody on Twitter, No Tech Ben, talked about how he thought maybe Giannis might have tendinosis in his knee. Like, that's kind of terrifying. So like, what do you think? I mean, we're speculating, but like, he consistently has these issues with.
I don't really like. I don't want to say that I don't care, because I obviously really care, but I don't know anything about his knee stuff. Like, I'm just going to default to the people who have actually like worked with him and seen his knee. Like, if he has something wrong with his knee and he's like not resting, that's probably bad. But like, also, what are you going to do? Tell him he can't play in FIBA? Like, there's no way he would resign if we said that.
No, we signed Thanasis. He'll resign either way. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh yeah, that's the lock.
I'm not going to get into that again.
No, yeah.
Anyways, hey, thanks for tuning in. Let us know, legit, if you hated that we did this off-topic podcast, or if you loved it and you want more. Let us know. 21 listeners. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.